After 3 long years, Arcane finally released the first 3 episodes of Season 2, and I literally can't stop thinking about it right now. As always, the art direction is stunning with their unique integration of different styles for visual storytelling. It feels so good to be back in this world. New characters are introduced, and while they don't really have much of a role yet, I am curious about them, especially this guy with his obvious resemblance to Vander, and this child, who we're going to talk about later. The first episode jumps right into the action, picking up from where we left off at the end of Season 1 after Jinx blows up the council room. Mel and Jace are relatively unharmed, and we're left to question why. Victor's on the brink of death. Cassandra Kierman is dead, along with some of the other members of the council that I don't really care about. The death of Caitlyn's mother was predictable, but it was still impactful as we see the toll it takes on Caitlyn and how this trauma influences her current decisions. I have to admit, basically anytime Caitlyn appeared in the first episode, I started sobbing because seeing people mourn for their loved ones is almost more painful than the death itself. Her mother haunts the narrative, so we see a huge change in Caitlyn throughout these 3 episodes from who she was in Season 1 to who she is now. Before, she was naive, hopeful, headstrong, and an ally to Vi and those of the Undercity. While she was privileged and it showed, she wanted to help and was open to learning about the mistakes of Piltover and how she is a part of that oppressive system. Now, after being personally affected by the actions of a Zaunite, she's vengeful, angry, and takes aggressive action against them, which only gets more severe as the episodes progress. Honestly, I find Caitlyn's character arc much more compelling and interesting this season than it was in Season 1. Episode 2 brings us back down to Zaun with our beloved Jinx and her new adopted child, the power struggles between the Chem Barons, Vi becoming an enforcer, and Victor becoming Jesus. Jinx says her final goodbyes to Silco, grappling with having to let go of him, which leaves her all alone. When she killed Vander and Vi was taken away, Silco was there to save her. But this time, there is no one. At least not yet. She's been protected and taken care of her entire life, and now she's truly on her own. She says that without Silco and Vi there to boss her around, everything is quiet. But you may have noticed that in this season, her hallucinations have almost completely stopped. There's no Milo, no Clagger, no Silco screaming in her head. The only time throughout all 3 episodes is when she sees Vi as an enforcer for the first time, and there are monster marks, signifying that Vi has become the monster that she always said she would protect Powder from. This being the only scene to get those marks emphasizes the emotional impact it has on Jinx and the true depth of Vi's decision. Last season, Jinx was manic, wild, and uncontrollable. Her scenes were loud and explosive, and everything she did was for the approval of Silco or Vi as she struggled between her identities as Jinx and Powder. Now she's forced to decide who she is and what she wants without the influence of anyone else. This season, Jinx is depressive and completely dead inside after symbolically killing the side of herself that craves innocence and childhood. She accepted that she will never be the same as she was when she was a child, and it has left her heartbroken and hopeless and lonely. Because of who she became, she will never have her sister's love back, and because of what she did, she will never have her father's love back. Jinx is quieter and more thoughtful, and she doesn't look like herself. Her eyes droop, her movements are contained, less boisterous, and have become careless and almost sloppy. She also seems to be more relaxed in a way that's accepting of pain and death. It's not that she isn't afraid, but that she just doesn't care anymore. This makes her even more dangerous and scary because when you don't care, you become bold and reckless enough to say and do things that you perhaps wouldn't have before. Though this does lead her to laying down some of the hardest lines in the entire series. But as we see in this episode, Jinx is not as alone as she thinks she is. After they both feel the heavy loss of Silco, she connects with Savika in a way she never has. Not only that, but as Savika tries to rally the Undercity together, she's mirroring the words of Vander, which may create a subconscious pull that brings the two of them together. Joining this group, we have little Isha, who speaks through actions and not words. This kid, really ignoring all signs of stranger danger, attaches herself to Jinx, which means that for the first time in her life, Jinx is responsible for and protective of someone smaller and more vulnerable than her. After Jinx abandoned Powder, it's as if Isha fills that void, giving Jinx back a piece of childhood. While I am worried that Savika and Isha are in danger of getting jinxed, I am hopeful that this is the trio that breaks the pattern. Episode 3 shows Mel being kidnapped by an eldritch horror while her mother's in the other room appointing Caitlyn as a warmongering general. Echo, Heimerdinger, and Jace got sucked into the void, and we see the long-awaited fight between Vi and Jinx. While I do think this fight is incredible, it honestly doesn't stick out to me as much as some of the other fights like Jinx versus Echo or Vi versus Savika. Those other two fights feel so visceral and violent, and while both of the sisters get some good hits on each other, neither of them seemed to go all in as viciously as we know they can. This could be a subtle way of showing that despite their words and actions, they don't actually want to hurt or kill each other. I've also seen some people talking about how Vi should have wiped the floor with Jinx, but people forget how strong Jinx really is. Even before Shimmer, she was able to enact crazy feats of speed and strength, all while hauling around this massive gun, which is only greater with the addition of Shimmer. Vi is most definitely stronger and a more skilled fighter, but Jinx is faster and strong in her own right and much more durable than she looks. They actually make a really perfect match in my opinion. Before the fight, Vi says one thing that I don't agree with. She says that Jinx is not her sister and that her sister is dead. The characters and fans of the show all talk about Powder and Jinx as if they're two separate people, even Jinx herself. And while that is true to an extent, we have to reconcile with the fact that Powder is Jinx and Jinx is Powder. They are the same person. Powder chose to go with Silco. Powder chose to explode Piltover. Powder is capable of great violence. This is Powder. Just because they call her a different name does not mean that she becomes a different person. She experienced great trauma that changed her, and that is tragic. Vi fights the little sister who she swore to protect, and that is tragic. Vi saying that Powder is dead is the only way that she's able to bring herself to kill Jinx, and she would have done it too if Isha hadn't intervened. There's a lot more to say, and maybe I'll make some other videos when the next acts come out, but for now, I'll leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts about the season so far, and if you made it this far, comment the blue butterfly emoji. Bye!